And as a sort of a reverse causality, whether emerging markets, you see, are emerging markets driving such mega changes? And it seems that some of these mega trends are being caused by emerging markets, by the emerging markets. So we need to support economic growth. You see, I will show you economic forecast. However, the main issue today is about sustainable development. So there are 5 main challenges or 5 mega trends. However, we need to boost economic growth, keeping into account the issue of sustainability. So, and you see very quickly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these are the 5 mega trends. And so I will say a little on, I will touch on all those 5 challenges. And hope to have a feedback from the group, from the class. So, so about what are megatrends? Okay, so are macroeconomic and geostrategic forces that are shaping our society, our world economy. And these trends will might have and will have an impact on the future. So basically, these very big challenges have so will present us opportunities and also risks. So basically, we need to think about Russia in the long run under these 5 challenges. So we need to understand China, India, under the same perspective. So many people believe that today's problems, economic and social problems, come from globalization. And this graph, I want to be very quick, is about the globalization. So you see 1875, all the way up to today. And this trade openness is is calculated as import plus export divided by GDP. Import plus export divided by GDP. And today, the ratio is about 47%. However, before World War I, the ratio was 38. And so globalization is not a novelty. It's not a novelty. And yes, after World War I, the ratio fall down. And end of World War II, down to 7.5%. And this was normal in the light of World War II, the tragedy of World War II. And then right after World War II, you see this trending up openness. Anyway, today openness is globalization is not a novelty. And so I said at the very beginning that we need to support economic growth. And you see, this is the global economy, the projection about 17 and 18. All right, 17 is projection, forecast is 18. And you see that this is the global economy. While emerging markets, you see, emerging markets and developing countries are growing a bit faster, much faster. Yeah, faster than advanced countries. So this is a good news for for the emerging markets, because we'll keep growing. China, India will, for example, China, India will keep growing at 7% about. So basically, we need to support economic growth. We have positive outcomes. However, we need to understand the five major challenges. So one is about inequality. Inequality between rich and poor people. A second is a shift in global economic power. Then we have demography. So the fourth one that I think you have more, you are more sympathetic with is about technology. So technology and automation. And then climate challenge. So we try to basically, so the first one is reverse. So we kick off the analysis with this shifting global economic power. So the West, you see, Western economic dominance is now shifting to the East. And China is on the rise, and BRICS will continue, yeah, shaping up the world economy. And and for example, this is the GDP in G7 group. So these are the 7 countries: UK, Japan, Germany. No. And Russia was in this group, was a G8 until a couple of years ago. Yeah. And the E7 are the 7 largest emerging markets. So we have 7 countries, 7 countries. 7 versus 7. This is 2015, 2050. And you see the tendency of the GDP in the E7 countries. So while today the GDP in the G7 is larger than you see these bubble size, the bubble size. So you see this bubble that is bigger than that one. By 2050, there will be a reverse comparison, a reverse strength of. So by 2050, these 7 countries' GDP will surpass, be much bigger than the GDP in the G7 countries. And this will be clear to you when we touch on demographic trend. So anyway, by now, you can see that by 2050, the largest 7 among the largest emerging markets will be stronger than the 7 largest Western countries. Do you want to guess why? Why it is going to happen? just luck, or what else? Don't you have anything in mind? Why these seven countries GDP will be much higher than the GDP in the G7? Yes.
Бруно, российская армия подписывает с тобой чем связано?
You're saying that Russian GDP will be much bigger. Why? Why is it going to be like that?
Sorry?
Why is it going to be like that? Why Russian GDP is going to be much?
No, I said all seven. All together. Yeah, all together. But also Russian GDP will be trending up. Can you please formulate a guess? Just a guess. Think about it. Think about productivity. Productivity. For example, GDP in China. You mean interaction, trade, investment, interaction? Yes, this is correct. And this integration will will help developing countries to improve productivity, to produce more. And in the long run, when the average productivity in the US or in Japan or in the UK is as much as the average productivity in India, the average productivity demography, different population would play the game, would make the difference. You follow me? As long as the average productivity is equal all across the world economic system, the difference in absolute aggregate GDP would be based on population of people. So think about these countries, US, Japan, Germany, UK, France, Italy, Canada, all together have a population of would be 600 million. Something like this. For example, Italy, the country I come from, is right now we are 60 million people. 60. By 2100, according to UN demographic forecasts, the population will be much less than 50 million. And if you look at the UN has a very interesting interactive map. United Nations. And you can pick a country and see three different projections about population, fertility rates between now and all the way up to the end of the century. And according to, there are three different projections. According to the negative projection, population in Italy will be less than 40 million by the end of this century. As was told, free trade, investment, foreign investment, investment on schooling, on research and development, is helping emerging markets to improve the average productivity. So the domestic average productivity. Yeah? So in the long run, is no surprise to see these big countries to have an overall GDP much bigger than the GDP in the G7. So India will soon become the largest, the biggest country in the world. As for population, in terms of population. Yeah. Today is China. But India will soon become the number one. India so will become the largest and also the youngest country. While in the West, our societies are aging very fast. So this is another way to look at this G7 versus E7. So I want to find out the table. This is the projection, population projection. Projections. And you see Asia, the green line, the green color curve, and this is Africa. And so if you compare Africa plus Asia versus Europe, North America, the rest of the world. You see a big shift. So the economic system is moving, is shifting, is moving towards Asia now and Africa in the long run. So, for example, just to make to pick a country. So, Indonesia. You see, Indonesia is today population, yeah? 263 million. And 322 million by 2050. And we'll keep growing Indonesia population all the time because of the different fertility.
Из-за разных уровней
Fertility rates in many Asian countries are much higher than 2.2.
Во многих азиатских странах уровень фертильности выше, чем 2,5.
Why in the West? Even in Russia, no? Even in Russia, fertility rates, or in China, huh? In China, fertility rates are much lower than 10%. Too.
Например, в Канаде фертильность
Oh, in the E7 we saw also 30. So today is 80 million people big country. 80 million. And is moving up to 96 by 2050. 96 million. So, this demography is playing and will be playing a very big role in the future. So, when we want to compare, to make a projection, GDP projection, we need to know how the demographic trend might change. Yeah. Ah, okay. And so this is about demography. These are different fertility rates, and so today we have, of course, a lower fertility. You see. And do you remember the African demographic trend was trending up? Yeah. And do you see that in Africa we see, all across Africa we see a dark green. This is a dark green color. Also somewhere in Asia, you see? Huh? This is Yemen. Anyway, and in these countries, the fertility rates are, you see, maybe greater than 3.5 per woman. 3.5 per woman. So that's why the demographic trend in Africa is trending up like this. Very. And Africa will become, in the long run, the second most populous continent in the world. So, and this graph is about the people, societies are aging. So are becoming older and older. And this is the very latest from Moody's, the very latest projection on countries and on people above 65. Above 65 years old. And, and for example, on the very top, you see Japan. You know that Japan is aging very fast, very quickly. And by 2030, 30.3% of the population will be at least 65 years old. At least. And also Germany, you see, Germany will be is aging, yeah. And so you have a list of countries, and and you see that many emerging markets are instead will have just a small share of 65 plus. In the case of Russia, you see this is so it's not the red color, yeah. So Russia will be close to 19. So the problem of demography and aging are quite relevant to understand, you see, the risks and opportunities for all these for countries, for nations. So let me go back to going back or not? I don't, forward, so backward, yeah. So we have seen one issue. One issue was on this global power, global economic power that is moving to, is shifting to the east. And and in the very long run, Asia and Africa will play a big role. And we'll have a big voice in the world society. So let me keep a couple of. So one second issue is challenge is poverty and the gap between rich and poor. So the economy, the world economy is growing fast. And you see, this is the ratio of people who are living on, let's say, absolute poverty, extreme. You see, extreme poor, extreme poor. And according to the World Bank, the threshold is $1.90 a day. So below $1.90 a day, we have extreme poor, so absolute poverty. And you see the ratio is trending, has been trending down for the past 10, 15 years now. So we have less and less extreme poor people. And this line is about Africa. And so the largest group of people who live in extreme poverty, who are extreme poor, are living in Africa. And there is a tendency, or there will be a tendency towards, you see, 1 and 2. So the extreme poor, the number of people living with less than $1.90 a day, the number will decrease over time. So we'll keep decreasing over time. Still, the World Bank target is 3% for 2030. So the goal is to decrease the number of the ratio of people living in extreme poverty, the extreme poor, not to 0%, but to 3%. So this is a kind of not only of economic challenge, but moral challenge too, ethical. I don't know whether you want to comment on the ethics behind this projection, this target. Anyway, the extreme people, the extreme poor is quite a challenge. It's a problem. And so we need to combine this extreme poverty with income distribution. So this inequality or gap between rich and poor. So, anyway, the gap between rich and poor, you know how to measure the gap between rich and poor income distribution? Have you? Have you ever learned the Gini coefficient? The Gini coefficient. Gini was an Italian statistician in the past. So Gini was an Italian statistician who got very famous on the basis of his way to calculate income distribution. Yeah? Anyway, this income, there are income disparities, so rich and poor. Huh? And we know that disparities. Huh? You see, widening the income disparities. So poor are. Yeah, go ahead.
Происходит расширение различий в доходах между богатыми и бедными.
So rich people are getting richer and richer. Poor people are getting poorer and poorer. So widening income disparity. And according to the World Economic Forum and Oxfam. Oxfam is a very big, very well-known NGO in England. And the World Economic Forum is another very important think tank. Yeah. So now I want to learn from you your point of view. So according to the World Economic Forum, widening income disparities are impacting social stability within countries, so social stability, and threatening security on a global scale. So I want to hear from you whether you agree or not with this very let's say, risky, this view on the social stability, And that, social stability within countries is, this is, I would say, I would agree with that. Yeah. But about security on a global scale, this is a very tough view. So I want to know from you, you can share your views with me. And Oxfam, so before we open the debate, so according to Oxfam, the fight against poverty, so extreme poverty, will not be won until the inequality crisis is settled.
И согласно Оксфаму, битва против бедности будет выиграна, пока кризис различий между богатыми и бедными будет решен.
So this is that of the widening income disparities ranked as one of the greatest worldwide risks to So do you agree with that views? Let's make a poll. You can raise your hand if you agree with that. So almost no, it's not 100%. You don't agree? Don't you agree? Sorry, raise your hand. You don't. You?
Raise your hand.
Again, raise your.
So they're raising.
With you? Do you agree or not? So only one. So only one. Okay. So the floor is yours. It's not a problem. Why?
Почему?
Yeah, so I want to show you this graph by Oxfam. Has been done developed by Oxfam on the basis of some projections. So you see two colors. Do you see two colors? So this one, this curve represents the top, the richest 1%. The green is instead the 99%. So 1% versus 99% of people. I'm talking about people. That was the gap between in 2010. So this is the share of global wealth. So this is about the concentration of wealth. And you see that by 2050-16, the richest 1%. So the richest 1% own more wealth than the rest of the world combined. So we can extrapolate. This is not does not happen automatically, but should the two trends continue over time, this 1% will become richer and richer, and the 99%. So the 1% are richer and richer, the 99% poorer and poorer. So this is one way to look at this issue, this ethical issue. Maybe it's not an ethical issue. Maybe it's not. Anyway, I want to just to tell you about look at only two bullet points. One is today just 8 people, 8 men actually, but 8 people, let's say 8 persons, own same wealth of half the world. So 50% of people altogether combined own as much as wealth. So the same wealth of 8 people.
Всего обладают таким же количеством богатства, как и половина мира.
What I want to discuss and talk with you is because we need to look at to understand what's going on today in the light of the financial crisis. So in the United States of America, the wealth is 1%. So the wealth is 1% got 90%, 95% of post-financial crisis growth since 2009. While at the bottom 90% become poor. So during so economic growth is good for us, for all of us. But the post-financial crisis in the United States of America gave us this kind of 90%, the bottom 90% become poor. So this is a big problem. And for example, the number of billionaires has doubled since 2008. So this is that of income disparity is one of 5
И распределение богатства это одна из проблем.
So do you want to comment on or not? So one of the next challenges is automation, robots. And according to the OECD, technological change and the skill premium are factors behind inequality. So as we notice, new technology, new technological advancement. This is becoming a reality all around. I mean, everywhere. So this very fast technological change could maybe. So this fast technological change might, through the skill premium, reinforce, speed up this income inequality phenomenon. So simply because this is because technological changes might increase the demand for very qualified work, very skilled workers. Over unskilled workers. So basically, technology, automation, the use of robots. Yeah. So all these new, this overall phenomenon, yeah, is eliminating jobs, many jobs, unqualified jobs. Sorry, not unqualified workers. So technology is replacing some kind of jobs. And destroying many other jobs. And so this phenomenon on one side is good for economic growth. Economic growth is good for eliminating extreme poverty. So to reduce the number of extreme poor. But also boost, increase this income inequality. So basically, technology is driving up the skill premium. So qualified workers as you will be, because you are getting knowledge. And so this will drive up a skill premium, and at the same time resulting in more labor income inequality. Are you happy with this tendency of the skill premium and labor income inequality? Let's make a poll again. A poll. So if you are happy with this phenomenon, please raise your hand. Are you happy? Okay. And you? You too. You? Good. Yes. And anyway, this is larger evidence from larger emerging markets. Also shows a similar trend of a growing earning gap
Точно такой же тренд мы можем наблюдать в странах развивающихся экономик
between
между рабочими, которые
qualified and
и обычными рабочими.
not skilled or unqualified workers. Yeah, so this is a common phenomenon. So people,
Является общей проблемой.
so people who are able to make more and more money, and people who are not. So income inequality is so skip a couple of. So, for example, this is the Gini index, and the globalization, and from the past, before the economic crisis, and and according to some experts behind this growing income inequality, there was globalization. Globalization, so also globalization. So, and this is a work by the IMF published in 2015, and so we said that we need growth, more growth. So growth is good, and but growth comes through more technology, more skills. We need better work.
Но этот рост происходит за счет экономического прогресса,
But better works are better paid.
но если хороший рабочий, то он требует больше зарплаты.
So that is an income gap. No?
Это
For example, income distribution and economic growth. So this is a bit of econometrics. If the income share of the top 20 increases by 1%, the GDP growth is actually 0.08 decimal point lower in the following 5 years.
Если доход топ-10 рабочих вырастет на 1%, это странно, ГВП уменьшится на 0,8%, и докажет, что в ближайшие 5 лет показатель всегда будет получить никаких позитивных эффектов.
And especially suggesting that the benefits of this income share do not trickle down.
Доказывает, что положительные качества уменьшатся.
So let's suppose the opposite. So instead, a similar increase in the income share of the bottom of 20%, the poor, is associated with 0.88
В то время, если мы поднимем доход 10% сверху на тот же самый 1%, то рост ВВП увеличится на 0,38%.
So if you see, we compare minus, lower, and this is higher, lower, higher.
Здесь можно сравнить, что с одной стороны у нас увеличилось ВВП, с другой стороны
So
уменьшается.
lower 0.08, so close to zero actually.
Уменьшится почти на 0.
but this is plus. This is plus. So 0.38.
Но видите, почти на 40. Момент 40.
The IMF says.
Так, сказывает IMF.
So, do you agree with the IMF perspective or not?
Вы согласны с такой перспективой IMF? Согласны ли вы, что если мы увеличим зарплаты на 1% дефицит самых лучших работников, то это уменьшится, и, соответственно, наоборот, произойдет исследование?
So, yeah, this is correct. Yeah, and have you done econometrics in the past? No. So, but for example, right now, okay, right now, yes. So why? So why this you see this similar increase in the income share of the bottom 20% moves growth, so GDP up. Why? According to the IMF. Because according to this IMF work, this increase in the income share that benefits the bottom 20% would increase, would have an impact on consumption. So more money given to the poorest would be spent on consumption, no? Be, more consumption.
АМФ такое произойдет, как 20% бедных увеличением заработной платы будут потреблять больше.
While in this case would not.
В то время как в первом случае потребление не изменится.
So we might agree or not with this analysis. Yeah?
Вы можете согласиться или нет.
This prestigious analysis. But still is yes.
У вас сегодня напряженный день. Можно ли сегодня пораньше закончить телефон?
Вы сегодня should be early.
Tell me when.
Через 7 минут.
In 7 minutes.
In 7 minutes. Okay. So yes, and anyway, this is a very big issue, economic issue, because should the IMF be right redistributing income in impact on GDP? But it's also a kind of moral. No, I have to go the other way. So I'm going up or down? Okay. So let's move very quickly to. So we said about the aging society and technology. So technology is is no doubt important, and technology is impacting on productivity. You see different productivity growth from automation. We will have a further boost to productivity. And also productivity technology. This is the iPhone 6. Yeah. The iPhone 6 versus the Cray 2 supercomputer in 1985. And if you just compare the iPhone 6 and this supercomputer, you see that the iPhone 6 is a small piece of technology. I would say was, because today is the iPhone 3. The iPhone the 10. So today is, anyway, that was 2016. So you see how fast is technology moving up. Anyway, so 85, 30 years ago, 30 years ago, and you see that a very small piece of iPhone was powerful, that supercomputer in 1985. So we can, we might expect that these are a couple of interactive maps on the board. So one more challenge is about food. And so why food? Because of population, and so we will be 9 billion people by 2050, more than 9 by 2050. So we need more energy, we need more water, we need more food. Huh? However, more energy, where does more energy come from? From gas, natural gas, or from coal?
Где же брать еще больше энергии?
Water, yeah, we need more water, but that is becoming, will be a big problem.
Требуется больше воды, но это будет огромной проблемой в будущем.
And also, food.
И также еда.
So we are polluting the system, and according to the experts, I'm not an expert in climate, but according to many experts, the climate change, you see, the climate change will depress agricultural output.
Будут иметь негативное влияние на агрокультуру.
And for example, you see, the global food production will drop by 10%, by 2030, and by more than 20% in 2050.
Количество производимой еды снизится на 10% к 2030 году и на 20% к 2050.
And this is was based on the new crop modeling according to change in the climate change. See?
И согласно вычислениям, прибавление 1 градуса к средней температуре ведет к потере 4-6% агрокультурного производства.
So that is the average. You see, this is the average.
Первое это среднее.
But we need more food actually.
Но нам требуется больше еды.
So we need more food, but
Нам требуется больше еды.
so we need more food, but that means this climate change will cut the production. Yeah, the production. So this is another big challenge. So we need more growth to help poor people. We need more technology, but new technology is having an impact on income distribution. More GDP growth is affecting the climate. So climate change will be more about the food production. You see, the global food production, the global food production. So that's why we need to incorporate all those 5 challenges into same framework.
Так как все эти 5 проблем взаимосвязаны между собой, нам нужно искать решение, чтобы оно могло помочь нам справиться с ними совсем.
And we have also, in the case of India, India will become the largest country in the world.
Индия станет самой большой страной в мире.
And but fresh water, you see, fresh water growth has due to climate change, according to the World Bank. So we need to move to speed up and to conclude the seminar. So this is the global system, the global economic system. We are in front of megatrends and of big challenges.
Сейчас мы находимся перед большими проблемами.
So that's why the issue of sustainability, of economic and social sustainability, is and will be the key factor of our analysis.
И главным фактором будет экономическое и социальное.
So that was my analysis, my speech. And so if you have anything to ask, any questions, comments, and thank you, спасибо. And so no questions? No. There is one question.
if it becomes the largest integration country in the world, how are they going to solve problems with water, for example?
Yeah, the new prime minister, the Indian
Новый премьер-министр.
He's trying to transform the country, and he knows where are the Indian actors that will be a problem.
Он понимает, что это будет проблемой, и он пытается найти решение, как правительство производительной стране.
And although India has a very big dividend and opportunity in light of